Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell Meld Into Stone.
Into the ground I go. This
Looks
is
like the opposite of what you were doing.
yeah, kind of. I kind of turned into bubbly mush. This is what the sounds sounded like. This is a third level transmutation ritual for clerics, druids, rangers. It lasts an hour, takes verbal somatic components, either touch a thing. You step into a stone object or surface large enough to fully contain your body, melding yourself and all the equipment you carry with the stone. Hey, they said the name. Using your movement, you can step into the stone at a point you can touch. Nothing of your presence remains visible or otherwise detectable by non-magical senses. While merged in the stone, you can't see what occurs outside of it, and wisdom perception checks you make to hear sounds outside is made with disadvantage. You remain aware of the passage of time and can cast spells on yourself while merged in the stone. You can use your movement to leave the stone where you entered it when it ends the spell. You can't otherwise move. Minor physical damage to the stone doesn't harm you, but partial destruction or change in its shape to the extent that you no longer fit expels you and deals 66 bludgeoning damage to you. The stone's complete destruction or transmutation to a different substance expels you and deals a flat 50 bludgeoning damage to you. If expelled, you fall prone in an unoccupied space close to where you first entered. Most of this text, like 95% of it, is you touch a rock, you go into the rock for up to 8 hours, and that's it.
It sounds like most of the text is, here's how this spell can beat the crap out of you.
Yeah, that's the last whole paragraph. That doesn't normally happen. Like you're not going to often be in a dungeon and see a goblin with a pickaxe just like ramming into the walls with it, trying to find someone melted into stone. But that's a cute picture.
Because if they see you do it, then that's the obvious thing to do.
Well, they have to have pickaxes on them. If they have to go get pickaxes, you can just walk back out of the wall when you hear them leave. So yeah. I mean, this is a good reason to always carry a war pick with you, friends. Is so whenever a monster melds into stone, you can beat the crap out of it.
That's never come up.
Not once in the history of playing this game. I've seen the spell cast. Have you seen the spell cast before?
I have not. I don't think. What
no,
it is? What? No, I was gonna say I don't think I'll ever see it cast by me.
No.
I don't know. It's kind of cool. I guess there's a fantasy people have here, but not one that appeals to me.
I think what kills the spell to me mostly is that invisibility is a full level lower than it, right? And invisibility does so many more things than just hiding. And Meld Into Stone really is just hiding. It's kind of like a personal version of a rope trick. And I think rope trick's a great second level spell that you can again cast in a more meaningful ways than Meld Into Stone. So like, I think this probably deserves to be cheaper. And if it were cheaper, we'd have a little bit of a different conversation. Then it's a cute little hidey tool that you don't spend that much of a resource on. But third levels, you're competing with some pretty big effects here that you don't really want to spend.
Or I mean, like you should be able to exit in a different part of the stone.
You should like move into the stone would be cool, right? Give you like a burrow speed almost. You can like just move in. There could be a lot of cool stuff to do with this, especially for how much it costs. At the same time, I kind of get why they didn't, because passing through walls is that's problem for some dungeons. Still, this effect is overcost, and it's overcost by a lot. But I will say again, having seen it in play, there are some fun moments that come to it. I love whenever like you've got a group of adventurers being chased by somebody, and the one druid and the coward of the group is like, we're not going to win this fight. Y'all are on your own, and goes into the floor. And then they have this 30-minute solo adventure where they have to either get back to the party or break them free or some other kind of thing. It leads to some fun scenarios in small doses that I like a lot. I wish it could be more accessible for that reason. It's a ritual for some reason, so that's neat. I don't know when you ever really want to prep this, especially because you can't see out of it, and it makes it really hard to hear out of it. But like maybe you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna hide in the floor until they have the meeting above me, and then just hope I have a really good listening skill and can, overhear what's happening up there, I guess, which seems fine.
Or it could, like, you got your group and you enter a place you're not supposed to be in, but you feign ignorance. When the guards come, like, one guy melds into stone. When the guards come, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was the bathroom, and they usher you out. But they weren't paying close attention. One guy stays behind, and for whatever that's worth.
I think that will lead to, at minimum, some fun narrative moments, right? Like you're gonna have scenes about this lone character now trapped and alone, wandering through a place they're definitely not supposed to be. And you can do cool things with like sending sending stones are an easier way to do it, but like long distance messaging and stuff can also happen. Putting illusions outside windows, try and get, certain signals to things going on. I definitely see this in a world, right, where you smuggle somebody in, they then inside turn into a Meld Into Stone, so nobody knows they're in there, and then everyone else has to like leave, end of day or whatever, and then they pop back up, let the people back into the locked closed castle for the evening, and then you have your merry time robbing the place blind, right? There could be neat little infiltration missions done with it like you suggested.
Or Trojan horse. You gift the emperor a statue of himself, but there's someone hiding in the stone.
I love conceptually that this plan of giving them a giant rock is so Melding in Stone. That to me is the same level of like feign death, right? Where it's like you have to have a really dedicated mission to use the spell for that to be the method you're going with, right? Like you're not there to assassinate the guy.
I feel like that is a good way to, because statues, that's expensive, commissioning art.
Yes.
So yeah, that makes it less worth doing.
Yeah, it is now an expensive strategy where you could just turn invisible, walk up and stab the guy, right? Like, I think this spell, I would like more magic to be on this level, to be entirely honest with you. I like niche little cool mundane effects like this, where like not mundane effects that do one thing in a niche window, and this is like you turn into a rock. That's kind of neat. But there's so many ubiquitous spells that it's a lot harder for me to get excited about the niche ones. Again, invisibility is the main perpetrator, but even like a lot of teleportation magic makes this kind of obsolete. A lot of little like disguise self is a cool little niche tool, but it's so much cheaper than this and does so much of the job of Meld Into Stone. I just can't ever foresee a place for this whenever I have so many other abundant options that have such a wider variety of things to do.
I'm also thinking Wall of Stone. There's going to be something you can do with that. And that's certainly big enough to fit in. But where's the angle?
So in this hypothetical, we are both casting Wall of Stone somewhere for a purpose. Maybe we're like defending a city or whatever, and we got incoming orcs. So you go, okay, Wall of Stone.
We're casting Wall of Stone specifically for this purpose.
Yeah, to then meld into the wall. So whenever the orcs start to climb it, you pop out and go, ha, and push the ladder over.
Yeah, or I was thinking infiltration, like maybe the village is starved for building materials, and hey, there's this big stone slab. We could use that.
I like it in this hypothetical. This starved village, you are desperate to infiltrate, so you make a wall of stone and hide in it for 8 hours and just hope they like perform the manual labor necessary to move it where they want it? Is that what's happening in this fantasy?
I really should think about these before we start the video.
Disagree. I think these are some of our best moments.
All right.
I don't know. I think the spell probably could be a first level spell and no one would bat an eye, and still very few people would use it. Maybe the iteration's too long for it to be a first level spell, but it doesn't. That's kind of a moot point. As a third level spell, as it exists, there's so many better ways to do this. And sure, Cleric doesn't really have a better way to do this. Druid definitely does, though. They've got things like Pass Without Trace. They've got ways to wild shape into mice and whatnot. So maybe if you're a Cleric or not like a Trickery Domain and you really need some kind of way to hide out, sure, there you go. But if you are any other character, I don't ever see room on your character sheet for this.
I'm here trying to think of alternative uses, but the primary use is Rope Trick.
Yeah, and that's a second level spell.
Yeah.
That can hide more than just you.
Right.
And it's in an extra dimensional space that can't be blown up. So like,
yeah.
Oh. Yeah, this is a ritual, so this is kind of free. If you're a cleric, you can just do this if you have 10 minutes, and there's maybe some tiny bit of value in that. Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like if you're needing to hide out like this, it's probably because you're in a rough situation and you don't have 10 minutes to hang around.
Yeah, I'm confident that's almost always the case with Meld Into Stone. I've seen this cast, and in the moments it was cast.
Tell me about that.
Okay, but I have a ranger with a great axe, right? And he's running with the party's getting their ass kicked by a bunch of drow assassins in like this big drow city or whatever. This is one of my first campaigns. Okay, so the ranger, Yeah, it was a ranger. It had to be a ranger because Elliot was playing a ranger. So yeah, he's being chased down to die by these things, right? And the whole party is like scampering, running for their life, bleeding and bloodied. He melts into the floor. We had a big cinematic moment where like they chase the wizard character up this balcony and they're pushing him over the edge with their swords drawn to him. And my ranger friend just like pops out of the ground and just great axes them. It was pretty spicy. It was pretty sweet. Invisibility would have done the job just as well and given advantage on an attack roll. So like, it was cool. It does the job. It's a really expensive way to do the job, and you probably don't need this as an expensive way to do the job.
Yeah, this not all. I mean, I did my best to come up with things. I didn't come up with much. I started out not super impressed with this spell and didn't get much further.
I think this truthfully deserves a 1. I really do think it's that.
A 1? Ooh, I don't know if I don't like it that bad.
It's there's first level spells that do what this is trying to accomplish. All right, fine, maybe we do 2 because cleric exists, and this is a cleric option that is a ritual, kind of.
I'm giving it a 2 because, like I've said many times, I've come up with some things, but I didn't come up with everything. I think an imaginative player could maybe do some kind of infiltration thing with it, or something smarter than what I've said. So
I felt this way about Feign Death, Bob, and you beat me down on that one, and to the point where I felt the spell was actually uncastable. I think this is the same vein. I think this is like a really niche tool that you have a few moments where it's going to be good. Probably more than Feign Death, granted, but definitely not so much that it's like justifies its slot. And I think that's its capital sin, is it's a 3rd level spell, and that's way too expensive for this.
Yeah. I mean, I would never take it, but unless one of the commenters gives me a reason to. So there's your challenge. Let us know what are we missing in Meld Into Stone. What's good about this? Or you can tell us how crap you think it is.
I do like the spell. I like these kind of niche effects. Yeah, it's crap. I'm okay. Some bad spells are fun to play with. I think this is one of them. This is one of those spells that I'll absolutely put on like a specific Earth-themed character sheet all the time, all day, every day. Especially if I'm like a cleric or druid. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be not good, and I'll use it like twice. But we'll give it a 2.
Me.
Sure, we'll stick with 2.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and like and subscribe and all that. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.